Well, hi, there you are. Welcome to the garden. I'm just sitting here contemplating a statistic I heard this morning, a little alarming. 40% of the first-time gardeners stop gardening after their first year. Now, normally I'd be sitting out here contemplating what we needed to do today, and it can be a little overwhelming, and I think that's one of the reasons why gardeners stop gardening the first year. And if you look at this garden, or any other garden that they've been doing it for a while, and you try to emulate that right off the bat, you're probably not going to be successful. And what is success? And what did our gardens look like when we started? There are a ton of different ways to garden, and a lot of people do different things, and they're very successful at doing that. And if you try to do all of it, and when you're just starting out, how do you choose how do you want to start? You got to remember, I've been doing this deep mulch gardening for just a little over 5 years. But I grew up on the end of a hoe, so I've seen what tilling, the row garden, the regular market gardening, I've seen all of that, but there's a lot of weeds and it's very labor intensive. Now, I'm not going to tell anybody else how to garden. If you're successful, you're successful. And I just got tired of weeding, and I think that's another reason beginning gardeners stop on their first year. They become overwhelmed by weeds, and it's very easy to happen. And when I was looking for a way not to weed, I came across so many different types of gardening. Hugelkultur, there's the deep mulch, the back to Eden, the leaf mold, raised beds, container gardening. I knew about tilling, and I'd been experimenting with square foot gardening, and both of those produced pretty nice plants, but the weeds just got out of hand. So if you're a beginning gardener, what do you choose? You don't want to spend a bunch of money, and I think that's another reason why beginning gardeners stop. All of a sudden they invest all this money, they buy all these raised beds, they bring in all this soil, they bring in all this mulch, they buy tons of expensive seeds, and they're not very successful. Who wants a $50 tomato? If you go all out the first year, it can be kind of expensive, but that's a one-time expense. If you buy a bunch of raised beds, now you've got those raised beds. You brought in that soil, now you've got that soil. Just take a look at this Sweet Mad Hatter. Last year, I think it was 40 cents for the seeds. We got some nice peppers off of it. We overwintered this plant and brought it back out here this spring. So this pepper is free. And that's why we do it, because it tastes great. And we can save the seeds for next year. Back to the weeds. That was the one thing that made me almost throw in the towel. But after doing a bunch of this research, I do have a bunch of trees around me, and they drop leaves every year that I have to rake up. Once in a while I have to mow, so I have some grass that I get to rake up. And I've got a pretty good relationship with all the neighbors, and most of them put up hay, so I'm able to get some hay. And I know where I can get some wood chips for free, that's in the city of Tulsa. But I didn't have enough of any one of those things to cover the garden with. So I just started mixing it all together and putting it out here a foot thick. That improved the soil so much I didn't have to worry about fertilizing the plants. It retained a lot of the moisture, so I didn't have to water nearly as much. It definitely kept the weeds down. And so this is my method of a weed-free garden, and I'm pretty successful at it. But check this out. Now, one of our strategies is succession planting, and I had high hopes for these squash. But the aphids got in here, and they kind of overpowered the ladybugs. I imported some, but evidently not enough or soon enough. So these squash are pretty much goners. Is that a reason to quit? I just wanted to let you know, even the most experienced gardeners have failures. So then you just pull the mulch back and plant some more radishes. And then in front of those, plant some more radishes. Put in some more corn, some more squash, some beans, some turnips. Yes, I'm going way into the fall, and if you're a beginning gardener, don't use this as yardstick. Use this as a goal. And you can do this too. And don't kid yourself, I've got just as many bugs as anybody else. So I hand-pick these. We use Dawn dishwashing soap, we use cold-pressed neem oil, and that's got the surfactant, I can't say it, the stuff that actually takes care of the bugs. I think the national average is 1/3 of all commercial crops are eaten by voles, moles, groundhogs, insects. And that's one of the reasons we plant so heavy. I know there's critters out here and we're not using commercial chemicals. Now if you don't know where to start, I suggest you start small. Now if you've got some kind of land, a yard, a backyard, a fenced in area, put some grass clippings and some leaves on it. Make a pile. And if you do that right now, in the spring, you're going to have an area that you can plant in. If you want to try raised beds, I'd just start with 1 or 2. There's no reason to go gigantic to begin with. So then I hear, I'm in an apartment, I can't grow anything. Sure you can. A small container, you can grow herbs. Basil grows really well inside. Lettuce. And then you could supplement your diet all winter long. Shoot, all year long. Even the most experienced gardener knows you can't control the weather. You're going to have some good years and you're going to have some bad years. And even in a weed-free garden, I still have a few weeds popping up anytime the mulch gets thin. Anytime I pull back to plant, and I don't put the mulch back real thick, I get 1 or 2. You just kick those out with your toe. Not a big deal. It becomes part of the mulch. You are going to share a little bit with the critters. This is all part of it. You do need to pay attention to your plants though. They do need to be fed. If it's in a container, you're going to have to supplement. If it's in a deep mulch, not so much, but you still need to watch your plants. And you do have to water. And when you got brand new seeds in, you got to make sure they stay damp until they sprout. If you forget about it, you are not going to be successful. Unfortunately, it's not just dig a hole, drop a seed, walk away, and you got food. But then where would the fun be? You can really do this too. It really doesn't take very much. And please don't get discouraged on your first attempt. Like I said, we do this because it tastes good and we like to eat what's coming out of the garden. But I also like to come out here and just watch. It's so calming out here. The world melts away and all you get to worry about is the grasshopper that's trying to eat your corn. You really can do this too. It's just not something I keep saying. And I encourage you to try. You're going to be amazed at how good you feel when you put a radish seed in the ground and you got radishes. And if you put a little effort into it and pay attention, it's just that simple. If you want to learn more about the deep mulch, click that link right there and I'll meet you back in the garden. If you want to learn about the living soil, click that link right there and I'll meet you back in the garden. And until next time, remember, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and God bless you. Come on, let's plant.
Let's go plant garden.